I started doing things with art when I was a kid. So I'm Bill Mannion. Most of the time I like to do either animals or wine. I do a lot of wine subject type material, wine backgrounds, um, and that have now begun to do a lot of wine work with landscapes in the background. I started drawing when I was a kid. Like I say, you might say I'd lay on the floor in front of the radio and draw pictures while I listened to the Lone Ranger. I always wanted to draw. I always wanted to paint. But growing up in a small farm town, we didn't have a lot of opportunity to express ourselves, so to speak, at that time. But just have always loved art. Possibly what I was before, I was an explosive engineer. I worked with explosives and drilling and blasting, and I had that started as a job to pay my way through art school, and it became a 35-year career. And that's what I would have been doing. But primarily, the greatest guy that ever worked with me was John Hampton. Johnny Hampton was one of the original cartoonists for the old Red Ryder um, cartoon strips in the paper, and John Hampton and Fred Fellows and all of the cowboy artists of America, who I got to know many of them through the years when we lived in Arizona. But John Hampton was always right there to ask questions, and he was always there to work with me. I'm still aiming to work more with developing what I call position paintings of either an animal or wine art for commissions. Uh, People like to have I will always be doing that, just a bottle of wine with their special label or a special something on them they have. But it'll always, my art will always have a lot of color, a lot of design, and basically a lot of depth. But I can also fall back on some of my old favorite abstractions of color, because color is a lot of fun to work with, so I'll always be working with color. I grew up in Missouri, in North Missouri. I worked at Lake of the Ozarks as a teenager, and then when it was time to come back, I had some family that lived close, so it was time to come back to Missouri. After 14 years in Oklahoma City, we'd been coming back and forth up here quite a bit, so it was just time to move back home. There's a lot of color in this area. And there's a lot of color, different colors throughout the year, whether it be in for landscapes or just a colorful people. There's a lot of different colorful people at different times of year here to get to know. But this area is just full of a wide range of ideas and animals and people that put those all together with color, and you're going to have a painting.